All right, we're going. Thank you.
So let's go down the list. So labia is lips. Then your frenula you can't see on a model, but those are the vertical things in your mouth. Gingiva would be cheeks. Palate you know already. Uvula, tongue. You got those. So now we're going to go down further down. Salivary glands. So you have three. Parotid is near your ear. So literally para-otic, near your ear. Parotid. The corner of your jaw has submandibular, meaning below the jaw. And below your tongue is sublingual. Right? Then that puts this. Then that would be puts me. That then puts me in the back of my mouth, which is the pharynx that you learned already. You know those. So I'm going to go down now instead of the airway. We're going to go down the esophagus. So I go down the esophagus, and I end up in my stomach. When I pass into my stomach, I'm going to go through a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go through a sphincter that we learned today in lecture. That would be my gastroesophageal or my cardiac or my cardioesophageal or my pick a one. And then I'm going to be in my stomach proper. But there's names. We have the poochy part, I call it, is the fundus. Then we have the greater curvature, which is the big curve. We have a lesser curvature on the top, which is here. The body just means the middle. And this region is called the pyloric region because it's near your pyloric sphincter. So you have your cardiac region near your heart, pyloric region near the end. My favorite word on every quiz and exam are the bumps in your stomach called rugae. It's always on every quiz. I love rugae. It's just a weird thing with me. So I have my LES, my fundus, cardiac region, greater, lesser curvatures, pyloric region, pyloric sphincter. Where's rugae?
Why isn't it trabeculate?
Well, I like trabeculate, but rugae just I like better.
It looks like trabeculate.
It looks like trabeculate, but it's rugae. I'm not a drunk Roman. It made sense to somebody.
The Romans were listening to reggae. They're like, rugae.
Okay, so now I'm going to go through my pyloric sphincter into my duodenum, duodenum, pick a word, the first part of my small intestine. So the small intestine has three parts. The first part, which goes from here to basically where it flattens out, this first bend, that's the duodenum, or duodenum. The middle part's jejunum. And then the last curve here is the ileum.
This right here?
Yeah, basically right here. So you have duodenum, jejunum, and ileum are the three parts of the small intestine. Then when I look at the small intestine, I have these little folds within it, which are called plica circularis. Those are the folds within the small intestine. The villi live on those. So you can't see the villi, you can see the folds. Then at the end of my small intestine, I'm going to go through a valve right here. That's the ileocecal valve, because from between my ileum and my cecum. So that ends the small intestine.
That's another
Sphincter slash valve. It's usually called a valve. It's also a sphincter. All right, then what we have is, we're going to back up here. In my duodenum, we get served by the pancreas, which is the fishbone-looking thing behind your stomach, and the liver. So these would connect to my small intestine here. So I have my pancreas, which has a head and a tail, like a fish. The fishbone is actually called the pancreatic duct, and it comes out right here. The liver also has a tube, this is the green one, that comes out here as well. That tube is called the bile duct. Together they meet in this little magical place, which has a bunch of different names. So this is called your major duodenal papilla, meaning big duodenum bump. Okay? The V is called the hepatopancreatic ampulla, inside of which is the hepatopancreatic sphincter, meaning liver-pancreas connection, really. So your pancreas and liver meet here. If I zoom on down to my large intestine, which is an easy one to do, you take your finger and you track the poo. So I'm going to come in here. My cecum's the pouch with the appendix attached. Then I'm going to go up, so ascending colon. I'm going to go across, transverse. I'm going to go down, descending. I'm going to make an S curve, sigmoid. I'm going to straighten out rectum. Then I'm in my anus. So you just name the flow.
So how much? What's number? Is it 19?
This?
What's that space? That
depending who you talk to, I learned that as the anal canal.
Okay.
But you can also argue it's the rectum to about here. So depending on who you argue with, it's either rectum or anus.
Okay.
Then the other trick is you're supposed to know the curvature. So these are called flexures or curvatures. So this one, the upper right, is usually called your hepatic flexure because it's by your liver. Right? This one here is called the splenic flexure because it's by your spleen. So on my large intestine, we have this little strip here and here, which goes all the way across. That's a tinea coli, meaning it tensions my colon. It's a muscle. And when it does that, it makes these little poochies that live all over it. These are the hostra. So each bump is a hostrum, and together they're hostra. So you have your tinea coli, the hostra making the weird-looking shapes.
So is that what pushes out the feces?
Pretty much. And well, that holds it in tension, and there's internal muscles.
Oh,
within
okay.
that. And then let's see. So then we go down here to our rectum. We have our internal and external anal sphincters at the end. So if we go back up,
Two sphincters, internal and external. Does it show a differentiation there in that particular model?
this one's supposed to be the external, the
Okay.
bigger one, and then the internal would just be this little one.
Oh,
here, but I
I
don't
see.
think the model makes a distinction.
So the exterior, I mean, the external is over the internal,
Yeah,
basically.
so
is what
basically
you're
in and out.
It's
Okay.
a larger muscle.
Well, it seems like the internal is just like a backup or something.
Yeah.
In a
Well,
sense.
basically, it's a pressure relief valve, so you can't hold it forever. Eventually, that one says go.
Okay,
It just holds until there's pressure. The voluntary one's the one that overrides the other one.
okay.
So if we do our liver, which unfortunately every single liver is different, so you're going to have to memorize every liver. The trick is you find your gallbladder, which is the green sac. And you notice there's 3 or 4 green tubes. So you have to know each tube. So the cystic duct is the green tube between the gallbladder and the liver. That one right there. That's one that fills the gallbladder. There's a tube that goes from that connection back into the liver, this one here. That's called your hepatic duct, because it's from my liver. So the hepatic duct and the cystic duct meet and keep going, and notice how this is cut. That's the one that comes down to my intestines. So that's the bile duct. So you have a cystic, hepatic, and bile duct. So they form 3 tubes out of these organs. The problem is every organ is going to look different. So on this model, if you look at it, okay, so this would be the cystic duct because it's coming out of my gallbladder.
I think he's getting way better pictures.
Okay.
Than me.
This one here would be the hepatic duct. There's actually 2 because that's the one that goes back into my liver. And this one would be the common bile duct, which is going down to my intestines. There's always 3, sometimes 4.
But
So
you
this
say
one shows a division, though.
Right, and the hepatic duct, depending on the model, is split into a right and a left and a common. This one shows a right and a left and a common.
well, you
but
said
some
they're
of them
going
don't.
into the liver, but
Or
they're actually
from
coming
the liver,
out of
yeah.
the liver. Okay, all
When
right.
we look at it, it
Yeah.
looks like it's going
So
in.
is it
Yeah.
right, left, common?
Yes.
Okay.
So if the bile was being made, you have a right and a left hepatic duct, common hepatic duct. Then it goes in the cystic duct to fill the gallbladder, and then comes out the bile duct to go into the tissue.
Okay.
But every model has a different arrangement and way they do it. So that's what throws you off. And then if we do the outside of our liver, there's the falciform ligament, which is that big line down the side that separates the lobes. And the round ligament is the name for the opposite side of the same part.
So it's that white
falciform and
piece.
round. Yeah, the white piece
Okay.
of whatever.
And this shows it here as
It
well.
shows it here as well.
And kind of in the back.
And then last term you learned about the hepatic artery, hepatic veins, and all that. So in theory you know those.
Okay.
All right, so for the teeth, you want to know the different types. So, put it this way here. We have incisors. We have our canines, also called your cuspids. Your bicuspids, also called premolars, and your molars. Okay, incisor, cuspid, premolar, molar. So you gotta know the teeth, how they look. Then within the tooth, then we have to do the layers. So we have the crown is what's above the jaw, or what you brush. The root's what's underneath. And then in the crown we have the enamel, which is the surface. We have the dentin, which is under that, it's a protein. And then we have the cavity, which is the hole in the center, so also called the pulp cavity. Then in the pulp cavity, you're going to have the apical foramen, which is the hole at the tip. And then the lower part's called the root canal. That's where the root is. So you have your pulp cavity with root canal and apical foramen in the center of the root. And then you have your dentin and enamel covering the top. Then you have your gingiva, which is your gum. And the gingival sulcus is the groove where your teeth would be, the hole, basically. And I think that's all.
Okay.
I think there's one more word somewhere. It's in my head, but I can't remember what it is.